let's make possible. Unlimited allowances subject to fair use. Available on selected Air mobile plans. For full terms, see air.ie.
To those of you venturing out shopping for the first time in a while, rest assured, at SuperValue, we are there for you. We have set aside elderly shopping hours between 10 and 12 p.m. every day. And our dedicated staff are on hand to help get you in and out quickly and safely. SuperValue, there for you.
Harvey Norman is here to help. Our spacious stores have reopened with our team practicing social distancing to keep us all safe. So if you need it now, you can get it at Harvey Norman. A new home appliance to replace an old faulty one. Essential tech to stay connected. Or even a bigger sofa or better mattress to make staying home more comfortable. Shop safely in store or online with click and collect and home delivery available. We're here to help. Harvey Norman, your appliances, technology, furniture and bedding specialists.
Go!
Mattresesdelivered.ie for quality mattresses. But did you know that...
With one of the goals of the season! Unbelievable!
Then get this, the all-new OTB Sports app. Off the Ball, Ireland's premier sports channel, now has a new home, featuring the biggest names in Irish and world sports. Podcasts, interviews, news, commentary, analysis, plus almost 20 years of sporting archives. All free and ready when you are, at home or on the go. The new OTB Sports app. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Duff and Heskey.
Now you're welcome back. So a sure sign of normality returning. La Liga gets underway tomorrow night. Sevilla play Real Betis in the derby, and then we have 110 games in just 39 days. So it's flat out 11 rounds remaining. They'll try and play them off in about 5 weeks, and it could be a bit of a cliffhanger finish as well come July 19th. At the moment, Barcelona, 27 games in, are 2 points clear of Real Madrid, also 27 games in. To discuss, we'll be joined shortly by Dermot Corrigan. First, though, Gerry Armstrong is with us. Gerry, how are you doing?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
Very well. Nice to have some football back.
Well, in some shape or form. I'm not sure how it's going to be behind closed doors with an atmosphere that's going to be very different.
Tell us about the title race thus far. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Neither are putting forward what would be deemed vintage offerings in their illustrious history, but we do have a title race nonetheless, and the lead has changed hands between these two several times.
Yeah, it has. Now, I have to say, I watched pre-season, Real Madrid play pre-season. They were disappointing. They got hammered by Atletico Madrid in the United States in a cup competition. And it was one of those, I thought they were going to have a really poor season. But the season actually, kicked off and they were brilliant. And then their first defeat was actually away to my old club, Real Mallorca, unexpectedly. And in the last 3 weeks before the season stopped because of the COVID, they lost their form, they lost their concentration. And for me, the season's not over. The favourites are definitely Barcelona. And 55% of the poll that was asked think that Barcelona was going to win it. But, you have another 45% who think Real Madrid could win it. It's about how you've responded to the COVID, how fit the players are, their attitude, their mental stability. And it's going to be an interesting one. I've looked at the results in Germany, and the top two are still the top two, obviously, Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. But it's the home teams don't seem to have the same advantage because, obviously, of the lack of an atmosphere in the crowd, or the 12th man, Joe. So it's going to be an interesting one. But I think it's those two, definitely. And, I don't think Sevilla or Real Sociedad can catch them. I'd be interested to see if Getafe could get into the top four and qualify for the Champions League. That would be something special for me.
Dermot Corrigan from The Athletic is with us as well. Dermot, how you doing? Great to have you with us. So if we talk about the time off these last 3 months, it's been very quiet, it would seem, from afar in Madrid. No great strife or issues. Meanwhile, some kind of civil war seems to break out at Barcelona every few days. It's hard to keep track of the general mood there. Suffice to say, it's not good.
Yeah, it's been quite a contrast, all right, because as soon as the crisis hit and Barcelona realised that their money was drying up, they had a big row between the board and the players over how they were going to implement pay cuts which were needed, which ended up with Messi a little bit humiliating the club president, and Messi ended up paying the wages of the people who work at the club shop and the ground and things like that, which they were happy with, but didn't look so good for the president. Then 5 or 6 directors resigned from the board. More recently, they've been looking to try to move on some of their players, so the players that are going to be relying on now over these next 11 games. A lot of them know that the club are trying to get rid of them. Meanwhile, at Madrid, it's been really, really quiet. Zidane has kept out of the media, hasn't done any media interviews at all. He's preparing. Zidane likes to keep things low key, low profile, to just focus on the games and to get his big name players, whether it's Eden Hazard, who's just coming back from injury, or Gareth Bale, who hasn't had much of a run so far this season, but to get them all training every day, focused, away from all of the noise, and just to play football, and that's what he's hoping for over the next 11 games.
Gerry, Quique Setien is working with a squad with just 18 senior professionals at the moment. Dembele is injured. It's a threadbare squad, and as Dermot says, a lot of those players know they're going to be shipped out relatively soon as well. What's the early verdict on the job Setien is doing, Gerry?
He's not really had much of a chance, to be honest, and with the injuries as well. I don't think anybody's going to jump the gun yet, but, you know, when in the old days in Barcelona, if you lose 2 or 3 games in a row, you get the sack. And he's under big pressure now, absolutely. I saw a little article. He was interviewed in an article, and he was under attack from the very start to the finish. And I think that pressure and the lack of a strong squad certainly would make me think that Real Madrid could actually go on and win the league, even though everybody's saying a 2-point lead is making them the favourites. I don't think they are the favourites. I don't think the harmony's good at Barcelona, and I think certainly there's a better squad at Real Madrid. So Quique Setien, the verdict is the jury's still out, and he's under a lot of pressure, and I'm not sure he'll be there next year.
Dermot, have there been grumblings from the players at Barcelona about Setien? I seem to remember you alluding to that a couple of months ago when we spoke, that maybe initial impressions weren't so good.
Yeah, it was difficult at the start because he's almost like a teacher who was telling them, this is where you have to stand, this is where you have to run. And when the results weren't great, you know, they lost to Valencia, they got knocked out of the Copa del Rey at Athletic Bilbao, and they lost the Clásico as well. You know, the players will always look for somebody to blame the manager. My feeling from just talking to people around the squad recently is that they've enjoyed the training. They want to be able to do what he says. They like his ideas, or a lot of the senior players anyway are willing to give him time to see if it works now, because it was difficult to come in January under so much pressure and try to change things straight away. Whereas now he's had a bit of time, he's given them a lot of videos to watch. He's done a lot of work with them on the training ground. Even when, you know, as training came back, it was kind of individualised and difficult with all the restrictions that are in. They've tried to make the best of it. So I think they like him personally, or when I've been able to work out anyway, they like him personally. They hope he does well. But again, it'll come down to the results. If they start losing games, or if they're not happy with being left out of the team, or they don't understand the tactics being asked to play, then it could all blow up again very quickly.
Gerry, Piqué could be their only available central defender for Saturday's game. They have a few injuries there. On the other side of the ledger, though, Luis Suarez is back from injury. That's obviously a massive boost. Lionel Messi. Tell us about Messi this season. 19 goals. 19 goals in 22 games. Again, these are just amazing figures. He's about to turn 33. What Messi are we seeing at this stage in his career, Gerry?
It's the normal Messi. I mean, Messi can go through periods where, you know, he's maybe not scored for a couple of games, but he'll contribute. And I've watched him play and say, you know, a bit disappointed with Messi in the first 30 minutes of the game. He hasn't really done anything for me. And then all of a sudden, within 2 minutes, he scored a couple of goals and made a goal. He's a one-off. He's a real maverick. And the team have to realise that. And hopefully, Quique Setien can really see that and actually use Messi to the best of his ability and get Messi to play some of his good football. But he can be temperamental, and I'm sure the events over the last couple of days, he won't be happy with that. But let's hope he does his talking on the park with his feet. Messi's just a phenomenal. He's probably the best player I've seen in the last 25 years. And I've had arguments with different people. Glenn Hoddle thinks he's Maradona, but I'm sticking with Messi. He's the best I've seen.
Has he been saying much publicly, Dermot, Messi, or is it all just through the grapevine and hearing of tiffs with various members of the Politburo in Barcelona, or does Messi ever come out and actually verbalise what his big issue is?
He's spoken a bit more this year as he's got older, and now he's club captain as well. As Xavi Hernandez stepped away and Andres Iniesta left as well, he kind of took over a bit more of a leadership role, a bit more of a public role. So he's done some media interviews. The biggest things that he's done this year have been on Instagram, that he's come out first to have a go at Eric Abidal, who's a sporting director there, and he had a go at him for blaming the players for Valverde getting the push in January. Then he came out again during that row with Bartomeu about the salary pushes. And he, you know, when he's talked, one of the media interviews he did, he said that he didn't think they had, the way that they were playing, we're not going to win the Champions League. And that was taken as a criticism of Setien, that the way Setien was setting up the team wasn't going to be good enough to go on and win the Champions League. Messi himself kind of rolled that back, and Setien was in a difficult position because he knows that Messi has all the power, has said that, we talked about it and it's going to be fine. But he, excuse me, Messi, as you said there, he's going to turn 33. He's coming into a stage where he's so much the most powerful person at the club that what he says goes. Really, he doesn't admit to it, but he has a lot of power even over without signing the checks or anything. If he wants to sign a player, there's a much better chance that it's going to come, or if he doesn't like a player, there's a much better chance that Barca will sell them. So he's got so much power there that he knows he tries to use it in his own kind of way because he's such a special character himself. But whatever he does, he's not going to get in trouble with the fans, really. It's going to be other people who are to blame. And I'd agree with Gerry that he's far and away the best player in La Liga at the minute. A little bit it comes down to the title race over whether Madrid's stronger squad, maybe more players, deeper options for Zidane to have off the bench and everything to rotate. It comes down to whether that's going to be enough to see off Messi's individual brilliance, because Messi's going to have to do it, week in, week out. He's going to have to come up with some bits of special skill to win the games for Barca if they're going to win the league.
Yeah, and when Gerry, when Dermot mentions Madrid's squad, Hazard's back from injury, which is a major fill-up. They have Asensio back. Gareth Bale will benefit from the rest as well. What of Bale, Gerry? We're never going to reach a point, are we, where Zidane looks at Bale and thinks, yeah, you're my man, I'm going to build this team around you. That ship has sailed. That
ship sailed a long time ago. I mean, last summer I talked about the game, and Gareth Bale came off the bench when they were 2-0 down against Arsenal in that tournament in America, and he made a goal and scored a goal. And he was due to sign the next day for a Chinese club, and it never happened because the board thought there's no way we could sell this guy now. He still has a lot to offer. But in Zinedine Zidane's mind, he doesn't see him as a player who's going to develop and give them anything extra than what they've got. I think he's disappointed with his attitude, and he would get rid of him in a heartbeat. I think Gareth Bale would look to go to America or go to China or even back to the Premier League. But it's not just about Gareth Bale. There's a big squad of players here. I think Gareth Bale should be in the team. I would certainly select him, and he's got great ability. But they've got a much stronger squad at Real Madrid. They've got better balance for me, and that's why I would fancy them to overhaul Barcelona in the final third of the season.
Yeah, Graham Hunter said as much as well on our breakfast show this morning. He fancies Madrid to overturn that 2-point gap. Dermot, how's this all going to work, by the way? It's all behind closed doors, I presume. Are there any neutral venues, or is everybody playing at their home stadium?
No, well, there's no neutral venues. In the debate that went on in England about neutral venues and about fans congregating outside Anfield and that type of stuff just didn't really happen here at all. There are a couple of innovations, I guess, in that Madrid have... they were working very slowly on rebuilding the Bernabeu or doing a remodelling of the Bernabeu. That was going on while games were taking place. They, as soon as the football stopped, or when it looked like there wasn't going to be football for a long time, they immediately moved in the heavy machinery and have the pitches all dug up there, and a lot of the stands are down. So they're going to be playing their games at their training ground. They have a 6,000-seater Alfredo Di Stefano stadium at their training ground, so they're very happy to be playing there. Levante are in a similar situation. They're going to be playing a long way, 150 kilometres or so down the coast in Alicante for Levante. But all the other games will be at the stadiums. Liga are putting into place, they worked hard on different technological kind of bells and whistles that they can do to try and jazz up the viewer experience, as they'd say. They say it's going to be quite different from the Bundesliga, where, we've had that kind of eerie, echoey kind of noise and been able to see a lot of empty seats in the stands. La Liga say they're working on a way to change the camera positions to put virtual people into the stands, the places that you can see, and to change the sound as well to make it look and feel as close as possible to what we're used to. We're going to have to see, when the first Primera game is played tomorrow, how that works, or whether that feels unusual or whatever. But they're confident that it'll look more natural or more normal than we have come to expect from the behind closed doors games that we've seen over these weeks.
Right. So I will, in effect, be watching TV and I'll see effectively some kind of hologram of a person in a crowd, that kind of a deal.
Yeah, well, virtual reality people, they've set it up, they've moved the camera positions so that where you're used to seeing a load of fans in the stadium, and especially then when there's a goal and they cut to the crowd and everybody's cheering or whatever, they've moved the camera positions and they've set it up so that the main camera, which covers a lot of the game, the camera that's up high in the stand that master camera, I think they call it, that you use for most of the game, that will show the stand behind on the other side of the pitch, and in that stand then there will be virtual reality, hologram, digitally drawn, whatever way you want to do it, people. You won't be able to see their faces or anything, but there'll be the colours and there'll be the idea that the seats are full instead of just seeing the empty seats. And then for the other shots of tighter shots and in the penalty area and saves and all that kind of stuff, cameras are moved so that you can't see as much as possible the seats. I've been talking to the people at Liga about it, and they're very excited. They were kind of pushing it as something that we should talk about at the Athletic. So we're going to have to see what it's going to look like in the end. But they've definitely put a lot of work and a lot of thought into presenting Spanish football in the best possible way when it does come back.
There you are, Gerry. The future's here.
Well, I mean, I've actually watched a game behind closed doors 10, 15 years ago in Lazio, and the atmosphere was just eerie, and it wasn't like a proper atmosphere, and that's the problem you're going to get with no crowd, really. So it's down to individual players who can focus and concentrate on just going out to do their job and being professional, and that's going to have a big say in the results, and I think that's certainly happened in the Bundesliga over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll be interested to see how it happens, and that's why Mallorca is such a big game for Barcelona in a couple of days' time. I think that could be a very important game.
Yeah, that's Saturday evening. It says 9 o'clock here. That may be Spanish time, but it's Saturday evening, either 8 or 9 o'clock. And then Madrid play Eibar on the Sunday, 6:30. Again, that could be Spanish time. And Dermot, I meant to ask you as well, the Premier League and the kind of conversations around football in the UK over the last 3 months have been acrimonious and tetchy and have been characterised by clubs furloughing staff and then cue the outrage. And Troy Deeney, amongst others, coming out saying, well, we're not so sure we even want to go back and play. And then the conversation about neutral grounds and the government getting involved. And just a little bit unseemly, the whole thing, frankly, and disagreement amongst clubs. Has it been similar in Spain?
There's been gone through a couple of phases. At the very start, there was a lot of infighting. The La Liga and the Federation, the two presidents don't like each other and usually take any excuse they can to have a go at each other. So that was happening at the start. And a good few players were very worried when the first inkling came that, maybe footballers might be coming back before the rest of society. People were worried. They were complaining that it wasn't fair for footballers to get tests and to get the equipment that was badly needed by other people in society. Over time, those fears have more or less gone away, or quite quickly. The Spanish sports minister knocked the two guys' heads together, Tebas and Rubiales, and got them to work together. And made more Rubiales to step aside and let Javier Tebas lead the Spanish football back. And the government have been very close. Even today, there was a press conference or a virtual press conference at the La Liga HQ, and there was the head of Spanish Tourism Authority, the Spain sports minister, people from the health ministry as well, who were all kind of explaining that it's all going to be fine, that Spain is ready, football can come back, that the virus has been dealt with or contained. I'm obviously not an expert in that, and they do seem to have moved quite quickly from 2 weeks ago when we were more or less supposed to stay at home here in Madrid, and now bars are open, supermarkets are open, people are going to get their hair done, all that kind of stuff. So it's all been part of, football has been kind of used or have worked really closely with the government to project a message that Spanish society is coming back, which is really important for tourism as well, because Las Palmas was the first club to come out and say that fans might be allowed to come back into their stadiums as soon as this weekend. That was knocked back by the authorities, but they wanted to have the idea out there that the Canaries are going to be open this summer for tourism. Now people can make their own decisions about whether they want to do that or not. And in Mallorca, that Gerry was talking about there, they've renamed the stadium. I think the Visit Mallorca Stadium, they're going to call it, instead of Son Mos, which is usually called. So it'll be like Barcelona are kicking off tonight at the Visit Mallorca Stadium is going to be the tagline, kind of to give this impression that Spain is reopening again quite quickly, and that they've dealt with the virus as well as they can. Again, that remains to be seen, and the messaging on that has changed a lot over the last couple of weeks, but that's clearly football is part of the message that they're trying to push at the moment.
Well, hopefully it has been dealt with. Dermot Corrigan from The Athletic and Gerry Armstrong, who reckons Real Madrid might just sneak La Liga. We'll see over the next 5 weeks. Thanks so much, fellas. Much appreciated.
Pleasure,
Cheers,
Joe. Thank you.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen. Gamble